Good morning and welcome back. Well, it is Thanksgiving morning. I have everything done. All the food is cooking. We have a few minutes of downtime. I'm here by myself right now. So what do you think I'm going to pick to do? You got it. Of course, I'm going to quilt. Well, I need to be working on the Grinch quilt. So I'm going to make another block this morning before everything gets hectic here. And first off, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And second off, look at the shirt Emily made me. Can you see it? Isn't it cute? Gotta love some deviled eggs on Thanksgiving. So anyway, I just thought that was cute. Now, on to the quilt. Let me show you what fabrics I have picked for this quilt. Here's the fabrics I've picked. I've got the first piece. I need 8 2.5-inch squares. So here are 8 2.5-inch squares of the first piece. The second piece, I need 8 2.5-inch squares of a different piece. So I've got 8 2.5-inch squares of both of these. Then I've got 2 of the 4 7/8 squares, which is going to be my background of this block. Then I've got 2 of the 4 7/8 of another piece that's going to go with this one. And then I've got one center piece, the focal piece of my block, which is a 4.5-inch block. So there's my pieces. Now this piece and this piece I want to be the same print. You don't have to, but I do, and I'll show you why in a little bit, how it flows together. So my first piece of the 2.5-inch blocks and my last piece of the 4.5-inch block are going to be the same print. So here's my prints. Now we are ready to subcut. So I am going to take this white piece and I'm going to cut it diagonally one time like we've done some of those other blocks. So both of my squares are now 4 triangles. I'm going to do the same thing with this piece. I've got my 2 4 7/8 blocks that are now going to be 4 triangles. So now I'm ready to put this block together. So let's start. Hang on one second. Now you can see a little bit better of where I'm at on the table. This is my center piece. It's got a little bit of a fold in it, so I'm going to iron that out. Now that's my center piece. Then I'm going to take these triangles, and one's going like this, one's going like this, the other like this, and then this one like that to frame that center block. Then I'll take my white ones and just put them with it to make it a square. You don't have to use white on here. If you wanted to use a different print, you could, but I didn't because I wanted to make this stand out. I want that to be the focal area. So there's that. Then I'm going to take these, and well, this one's got a fold in it, so I'm gonna get that out. Got a little bit of a crease. And I'm gonna take this piece and put it here, this one and put it here, this one here. One of each of these will go closest to this red block. And then the other one will go, points of the corners like this will touch. That one's got a fold. Let me get that out. That'll go there. Now then I'll fill these in with my other piece, which I just chose a different green. Oop, got that one upside down. These are words. Well, some of them are upside down. Never mind. I thought it was all going one way, but it's not. Some of the words are upside down, some of them are right side up, so it won't matter. So I'll put this one here, and there is my block. So now I'm just going to start sewing it together. You probably know by now how I'm going to sew this together. I'm going to start by the first row. And actually, no, I'm gonna do it like I always change it to. I'm gonna do these blocks first. To me, doing blocks like this, if they're bigger pieces, it's easier and I feel like I've got more done. So I'm gonna make these smaller pieces into bigger pieces and then I'll sew them together. So I'm gonna take this and move it to the side a little bit. I'm gonna take this one block like this and I'm gonna do this 4 times because I've got 4 blocks, and one in each corner. So I'll take this one, right side together, line it up and sew down this side. Everything again is a 1/4 inch. Then I'm going to take this one and I'm going to do the same thing. And then to speed this up, I'm just going to chain piece. So I'm going to take my next one and I'm going to put it together as well. And then I'll sew all of these 2 units into 1 unit. Then I'll come back and put them into the 4 units like I had it a second ago. It speeds it up just a little bit this way when you chain piece, and it also saves a little bit of thread. And the way everything costs these days, every little bit helps. So this on top of this one. Stitch 1/4 inch. And the same thing with this one. Make sure you keep it lined up. Then I will cut these all apart. Let's see where I put my scissors. Get my pins out. Once I cut them all apart, I will iron them open. And when I'm putting these back together, remember how this goes like this, right? So it's going to go like this. Well, in order to make these nest together better, I want one seam going one way and one going the other way. So what I do is, for this particular block, I'm going to, when I iron them open, I'm going to iron always to the red side. Because then, see how this one's going to the right? When I do it to the red side here, it's going to go to the left, so that when I put these together, one's going one way and one's going the other. So I'm going to iron, put that back where it goes. I'm going to iron all these open. Ironing to the red side. This part won't take but just a minute. I say that, this one doesn't want to open. There we go. All right, now I've got these done. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push this to the side because I don't need that just yet. I just need all these. Excuse me. I'm going to take one with it on the right, one with it on the left, lay it right sides together, line those seams up, roll it to the top, and pin it just like we always do. And then I'm going to stitch down this side. Then I'm going to iron it open. Excuse me. And I've got a block like this. That's what I'm going to make all of these into. So I'm going to take this one like this, right sides together, pin it. And then I'll cut my thread first, and I wanna. Then I'll iron it open. And now I'm gonna bring this mat back over so you can see it again. I've got this one that goes here because my reds need to touch. And this one goes here. So now what I need is one going here and one going like that. Let's put that one there. And then one going here and one going here. So I'm gonna take these two, sew them together like this, right sides together, line it up. You can pin it if you want. Make sure it stays lined up. Sometimes they want to wiggle. Do the same thing with this one. Line it up. Let's pin it. That other one wanted to wiggle, so let's pin it. Then I'll cut my thread, cut them apart, and iron them open. When you take these blocks and cut them into little segments like we just did with these corners, it makes it easier, at least it does to me. Makes it easier because now those little pieces are bigger pieces and easier to manage. So now these two are still smaller pieces comparatively. So we're gonna make those into big pieces is my next step. So I'll take this, put it right sides together, line it up, and then stitch it down this side. And I'm gonna do this the same way. I'm gonna chain piece it. So I'll grab my next one and do the same thing. Line them up. Sew down the long side. Same thing with this one. I'll do it to all four of them. Line it up. Now the next step is to cut them apart. And then I'll iron them open. Now for these, I'll iron to the dark side. Whenever I have a white print or a really light colored print, I always iron to the dark side. So there's two of them. And here's the other two. So now we'll just put them back how they go, which is that one like that, that like that, like that, and like that. So now we are ready to do our big blocks. Now it's a lot easier to see what I'm doing, a lot easier to manage. So I'm going to take this one and flip it onto this one and stitch down this side right here. Line it up and stitch down this side. much all blocks are like this. If you have little pieces, just make them into bigger pieces like we did this one, and then they're easier to feel like you've gotten something done and to see what you're doing. And row number 1 is done. Just iron it open. There you have it. Lay it back there. Do the same thing with this row. This one to this one. We will iron this open. Now that row's done. Do the same thing to this one. That one to that one. Then I'll iron it open. And there's my 3 rows. Now we'll do like we always do with sewing these rows together. Take the top one, lay it on top of this one. Push that one out of my way for right now. Take these 2 seams, line them up, roll them up, pin them. Take these 2, line them up, roll them up and pin them. And I like to pin them a little bit lower so that I don't necessarily have to take them out as I'm sewing, and I'm not sewing over the pins, but it is holding it in place. Stitch down the long side. Make sure it stays lined up. Cut my thread, take my pins out, iron it open. On this step, if you'll set that seam, it'll be easier. By that I mean, when it's like this, iron it right here. Iron this right here, open it up, and then iron it like that. And it sets that seam, it's easier to get a flat one. So then we'll lay this one here, put that there, pin it the same way we did the other row, line it up, roll it up, line this one up and roll it up, pin it, and stitch down this side. Make sure you keep it lined up. Then you'll cut your thread, take your pins out, iron it open. See, this is what I mean by set your seam. I'll take this and I'll iron it like that. Then when I fold it open, it's a flatter, easier seam. And just like that, we've got our block done. We're gonna want it to be 12.5 inches, so I'm gonna get my Quilt in a Day 12.5 inch ruler. Again, you can use any ruler and any cutting mat to square it up, but this is the easiest for me, so this is what I use. And I forgot to tell you earlier that this, the red, remember when I said the first block and the last block that we cut were gonna be the same print? That's because it forms this X now. You could use different prints here, but it would stop that X look. And I like that look like that, so that's why this and this, the big block, center block, and then those little squares were the same print. So now let's square it up. Okay, so I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna lay it on top of my block, try to center it, hold it down, make sure you've got fabric under each side, that you're not gonna cut it off too short, and I'm not. So now this is lined up here, looks like it's straight. So I'm gonna cut this side and this side. I'm gonna take my ruler off. Now I know these two sides are right, so I'm gonna turn it 1 time, 2 times. So now these two are right. Then I'll take this ruler and I'll line it up this time along this side and this side, because I know that's squared up. So I've got 2 sides done. I'm gonna hold my ruler on it, press down firm so it doesn't move, cut this side and cut this side. Got a little wiggle there. And now I've got a 12.5 inch block. Once we squared it up, we are done and ready to put it in the stack with the other blocks that are going to go into this Grinch quilt, so that when we are done making all these blocks, we are ready to put it together. So for now, that's all I've got. I've got a lot of other things to do for Thanksgiving, so I'm going to move on to the next thing on my list. I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving, a great weekend, a great time doing whatever you're doing. And until next time, like and subscribe if you haven't already. And well, that's all. Happy Thanksgiving and happy quilting.